My name is Esteban Garcia. I'm the head of GitHub AI Solutions at Lantern. We're an AI consulting company focused on the Microsoft space. I'm a Microsoft MVP, also Microsoft Regional Director, and I'm local here in Orlando. Here's all my contact information. That's what I typically look like. This is my November Let's Raise Money for Cancer look. So reach out to me if you have any questions. Make sure you save that contact info if you have any questions after. All right, let's talk about what we're doing today. We are in a world where services and all the building blocks that come with those services have become super complex, which means that delivering your software to the cloud has become even more complex. You have your laptop, and I'm working with my teammate, and everything works fine on his machine, things don't work on my machine, things work on her machine, and we're all trying to figure out how to all really make sure that we're sharing the magic to make our code work. Our teams are also moving really fast. Tools are making it so that more teams are delivering and working on more features, more code every single day. And keeping up with all that is really difficult. Our job has not gotten easier. Yeah, there are tools out there that aim to help us manage all this coming towards us. But how do we manage all this? How do we ensure that every single time that we push code out to our repo, that code makes it into some server somewhere, some cloud somewhere, in this case, Azure. But whether you have a test server somewhere, you're deploying to Azure, deploying wherever, you want to make sure that your code is actually making it somewhere. It's not good enough to just show up with your laptops like, look, it works. No one wants to see that. People want to see your code working somewhere that looks like production, right? So how do we do that? So today we're going to go over GitHub Actions, the foundation of this. I'm also going to be talking about GitHub Copilot. I'm sure you've gotten a lot of GitHub Copilot this week, this month, this year. But I'm going to show you how you can leverage GitHub Copilot to make your job in the CI/CD world a little bit easier, how to gain some of that time back so you can innovate. I'm going to show you some things around leveraging Copilot Agent Mode for that. I'm going to show you how to leverage Model Context Protocol to be able to interact with GitHub, Azure DevOps, whatever your tool of choice is. Show you some custom agents. Of course, I'm going to give you lots of demos. I'm going to show you, code just running on my machine. I'm going to show you how we are able to build the fun YAML files. I'm going to show you how to go right into GitHub and build some of these things, by clicking a bunch of buttons. I'm also going to show you how to use this using VS Code and Copilot. Probably wondering why is he talking about Copilot in an Actions talk? Because you have noticed the future is agentic. So I want to make sure that all of you are starting to think about this new world that we're very much getting thrusted into very, very quickly. And it's not just for the people writing code, it's for all of us who are deploying out there, right? So I'm hoping that this session gets you think a little bit differently about how do you interact with all these tools, and ultimately, how do you go faster to your destination, which is, in our case, Azure. And if your destination is AWS and Google, it works as well there. Or if it's on-prem, it works there as well, right? So my demos are going to be very GitHub and Azure focused. A lot of these concepts apply to other tooling as well. Feel free to stop me with any questions along the way. I will also have some time at the end to answer any questions. One thing I will say, there's a session right after this. I think this whole morning, this whole day is very much about GitHub Actions and deployment. The next speakers are great at this as well. Marcel, who's going after me, I think he's going to deep dive a lot more into actions themselves. So I'm going to give you a whole end-to-end, and then there's going to be a bunch of other sessions that are going to be covering similar topics. So definitely stick around and check those out. Okay, so let's start with the beginning. So what is GitHub Actions? How many of you are using GitHub Actions already? Okay, so a few of you. How many of you are using Azure pipelines? Okay, so I think we covered 60% of the room. So GitHub Actions is it's the foundation of everything that we're going to be doing today. GitHub Actions is GitHub's orchestration framework to be able to do CI, continuous integration, CD, continuous deployment. GitHub Actions is YAML. It's a text file that describes a process that you're asking GitHub, in this case, or a GitHub runner, to execute on your behalf. It has a list of jobs that it should execute. It has a list of steps that it should execute along the way with those jobs. They can run in parallel or they can run in sequence. And they have you also define your triggers. Run this every time code gets pushed to this specific branch, or run this every time someone's trying to do a pull request into this branch. So there's a lot of configuration that you're able to do there. But once you get this, right, there's a very specific structure that these files have. Once you understand it, everything just kind of comes together, right? Now, there are some people who are going to become YAML experts, and that's great for you. There's going to be some people, more like me, that like, I understand YAML. I don't want to write a full YAML file by hand. It is a lot, right? So that's where I leverage tools where I'm able to tell it, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Now, when I look at a YAML file, I can understand everything that's in there. I can tell you, yeah, this is where your problem is. But writing it is just, not something that's fun. It's fun for some people, and that's great for you, right? It's not for me. So along the way, I'm also going to show you some of the ways that I'm able to kind of work through my tooling challenges, if you will, for YAML. This diagram, I really like it because it simplifies everything that I just told you, right? Something triggers a run of a GitHub action. That trigger could be someone just pushed code up to your repo, whatever branch you're working on. Once that happens, one or many jobs start executing. They could be in parallel, they could be in sequence. Within those jobs, there's a bunch of steps. Hey, I needed to pull that code from wherever. I needed to get the NuGet packages, build, test, whatever, all the things that you do. And then you pointed to specific environments. Like we're doing this in development, production, in tests, or whatever that is, right? So and it also is able to pull data like variables and secrets that are stored within your repo. That part is really key because the way that GitHub works, it tries to keep everything within the repo. So your code and your YAML are side by side as your code evolves, so that your build, your deployment, right? It's all right there in your repo. Everyone has access to it. It's not like this special person that's the only person that can make a change to your workflows. We want everyone to be part of the DevOps solution, right? It's not just the DevOps person's job to do it. Let's all work together as DevOps teams. All right, so let me show you some demos because you didn't just come here to watch me do slides. So let me show you what I'm working with. I created for this conference, I created this little web app that's kind of modeled after the old Tailspin Toys demo that Microsoft's had for a while. Within this within this web app, we have a bunch of different campaigns. We're trying to raise money so we can, help different people learn, different technologies. I have my about page that explains what this is, and I have my contact page that just points you to my contact. All of that is located in this this GitHub repo, just under github.com/EstebanG, and there's a live 360 go fast with GitHub. It's public, so feel free to go and take a look, either now or later after this. So all the things that I'm going to be showing you are going to be there in multiple branches, in multiple places. The deck, as well as the live 360 site, I'll post the deck there as well, and any notes. Now, I also have a VS Code open with my solution already done here. I'm working off of this develop branch, and my website is just, it's just a web app. We're not gonna worry about too much what's in there until the very end. I have a structure where I have a .github folder. Within that .github folder, we're going to be working through there. We're going to see some Copilot things. You're also going to see where the YAML files end up. I have this website. I know I can run it. I'm running it off of my local localhost 5000 right here. So I know it runs locally. But now someone comes to me and says, okay, Esteban, that's great that it runs locally. We need to get it out to Azure. We've set up an Azure website, and we need to start building and deploying it out there. So I can say, okay, great. There's a couple different ways that I can go about that. I can go to GitHub, and there is a section here called Actions, right? And I can see, well, there's some old actions there from before, but I'm going to create a new workflow. Okay, click on the button. It's like, I know that I'm trying to do a CI, so continuous integration. What does that mean? Every time I build, every time I push the code out to the repo, I want a build to happen. I want to validate that ID and break things when I made my changes. Ideally, there's also some tests that validate that I go beyond just compiling my code. So I'm going to click here on configure. For free, I get a YAML file. It's a very basic YAML file, but it's a YAML file, right? Talk about some of the things that I mentioned earlier on the slides. Whenever I push or I do a pull request into my main branch, I want you to run these jobs. My first job is called build, and I want it to run on in a Linux runner. And then these are the steps I want you to run. I want to do a checkout, so get all the files into the runner. I want you to use the .NET compiler running .NET 8. I want you to do a .NET restore. I want you to do the .NET build and then run a .NET test. Now, every single time anyone from our team pushes code to GitHub, that's what's going to run. You could take those commands and run them on your terminal, and it'll do the exact same thing, right? But what I don't want is to make sure that everyone remembers that, okay, make sure that whenever you commit, you're doing these things. Yeah, everyone should be doing that. But I also want to make sure that whenever the code makes it up to the server, these things are happening, right? So this is the building block. If this is not there, we can't get to Azure. We kind of could, right-click publish, but don't do that. Let's go through this automation. Now, this is good. The one thing I would say about this is it doesn't really understand my code. This is just a template, and it's a good way to get started, right? You're going to go there, and then you're going to start making more changes. The nice thing about this is that it is code. It is just a script file that will be committed into my repo. It's going to go into here, my repo.github workflows.net.yaml. It's going to live there, right? And right next to where all my code is. So I could commit my changes, but I want to show you a different way, just because we're having fun with YAML, right? Just doing different things. So let me talk a little bit about Copilot before I go. I'll show you what I'm doing. So I mentioned that part of this talk is leveraging GitHub Copilot and some of these agentic capabilities, because again, the future is agentic. We want to go there, right? So let me just show you what you can do within VS Code, leveraging GitHub Copilot to work with YAML, to work with CI/CD, right? So you're seeing many different demos of like building applications, all that. This is very focused on building our compiling and doing CI/CD. Because Copilot is context aware, it's going to look at my project. I'm going to ask it to build a CI YAML for me. And because it knows the project, it's going to do some things a little bit differently than the template that I just showed you, right? So now my starting line just moved a little bit forward, or it's going to when I showed you. Where Copilot does a great job when it comes to the world of DevOps is that it's text, right? So it understands how to do YAML. It's going to help me generate my workflows. It's also going to help me explain my failures. A lot of times when I build something in GitHub, I get a failure. Sometimes like, I don't know what it means. I can go to Copilot, take that error, paste it into my Copilot chat within my projects. Say, hey, this happened. And it's going to help me debug, right? So it's like I'm accelerating my way there, right? It's not doing the work for me. It's augmenting what I could have done myself, right? It also helps me optimize pipelines. A lot of times we might have a pipeline that's like, man, this pipeline or this action, it runs in 5 minutes. It should be like 3 minutes. When I do it on my machine, it's so much faster, but I have to wait 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. What's happening? I can work with it to help me optimize it. And that can also suggest some patterns based on best practices. So let's go and let's start with that. So I'm going to, I have my code. I opened up Copilot. I'm going to go into ask mode. By the way, there's all these different modes that you have with Copilot. I don't know how many of you have used GitHub Copilot within VS Code? So a few of you. Okay, so get started there. Literally, if you open up VS Code, there's a little chat window up here, and you can get started with Copilot. You have to get authenticated with GitHub to be able to start using it. There's 20 other sessions of Copilot, so I'm happy to spend some time with you on this as well. So there's these 4 modes that are available right now: edit, ask, plan, and agent. We'll get to agent later. We're going to go to edit mode right now. So I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to give you a command and help me edit my code with it. So let's go with, the command is going to be, I want to create a CI workflow for this .NET 9 Razor Pages applications. It should run on push and pull requests. It should restore dependencies, build, test, and cache NuGet packages. So I'm telling exactly what I needed to do. I could just say, hey, create a CI build for this. And I have no clue what it's going to do, right? Because remember, we're working with this agent that's working on my behalf. I know exactly what I want to do. I just don't want to do the YAML, right? I just want to make sure that, okay, help me with this. Help me create this for me. I know what I want you to do. Go build it for me. So great. It's going to go and start thinking about. It's telling me what it's going to do. Hey, I'm going to create this GitHub Actions CI workflow. These are the steps that I'm going to follow. And then it's gonna, and it created it here. So it built it for me, right? So now let's take a look at what it did, right? Because I don't just blindly trust Copilot either. It's an AI assistant. I want to make sure that it does things that I want it to do. Kind of similar to what we saw earlier on GitHub.com. So the name is CI. You put it in the right place under the .github folder, put a ci.yaml file. Whenever we push to main or develop, or we do a pull request to main or develop, we want to run it on a Ubuntu runner. And these are the steps. So my job is build and test. First step is check out, then set up .NET. It's just like before. We're going to cache the NuGet packages. We're going to restore dependencies, build and test. Looks right. So this did a little bit more than before. Now it saw what type of, since it was aware of the framework that I'm using, it knew that I needed to do some .NET 9. The other one was a template. It was doing .NET 8, which probably would have worked. But in this case, I was very, very intentional about the type of CI that I needed to do. I also told it I needed to do some caching as well. I needed to do some tests. So it looks a little bit different. Different enough to know that it's different, right? It's not the same template. It didn't just pull something out of the template and just gave it to me. It said, hey, I know your code. I'm gonna go build you something that's purpose-built for this. It looks good. I'm gonna trust that it did what I needed it to do. I'm gonna go ahead and commit my changes. And right now I'm working on my develop branch. One of the branches that this work of is develop. So let's go ahead and publish this branch to GitHub. I think we're good. So I pushed it, and because I'm working on my develop branch and I push the develop branch, you can see that this workflow is running right now, build and test, right? One of the triggers was push to develop. Therefore, the moment I pushed, even if I'm pushing changes to my YAML file, it's somewhere in my repo, the job is running. And I can go look at it. As it's happening, I can see it happening, right? It ran these steps already. It already ran the build. It completed. You can see all the warnings. Not very similar. Exactly what you would see if you were running this locally. It's running my test. There should be a couple test cases. I think at least one test case in my solution. The test cases ran. It's all doing the caching, and then it's gonna clean up and be done with it. So my build just completed. Even though I pushed this, if anyone else goes on that repo and starts making changes, when you make changes to it, that build will run as well, right? So now we got to CI. We've been at this for 22 minutes, and I talked a lot, and we are at CI, right? Now, simple CI. Your projects are probably more than just one web app sitting by itself. If you have, a web app and you have an API service and you have other things in place, you could make them part of the CI, right? You can kind of chain them together. You can make another job. You can make another step. And if you're working with something like an AI assistant, it'll know what the structure is. It'll say, oh, well, I need to do this for your JavaScript part. I need to do this for your .NET part. I need to do this for your Azure function. And it'll kind of chain it all together. Right now, we're just doing continuous integration, meaning every time I push, the build will run, and it'll tell me if something is wrong with my code. Where it's a health check of your code. We want to know that every time someone touches your code, they're not breaking the build at least, right? Deployment's a little different. I'll pause for a second. I'll take a drink of water, but see if there's any questions from anyone. So let's talk about agent mode, right? I just showed you this edit mode where I said, hey, you got a question. Oh, sorry, I didn't see you.
What's wrong? Where would it pop up? Like, let's say it doesn't build.
Good question. I can probably find you. When I was doing my getting ready for my demo, I broke the build a bunch of times. So the question was, if something goes wrong, where does it pop up? How will we know? First, you're gonna get an email saying, hey, your build broke. If you have the GitHub mobile app, you're also gonna get a push notification, hey, your build broke. But in this case, let me see if I find a broken one. Here, there's a broken build looks like this. Hey, this thing broke. Here is the error. It broke in this specific step. I had many steps in this build. Broke in this build, in this step, and here's the specific error. And then you can start debugging from there, right? So you get the full log of what happened on some machine somewhere in the cloud, and you're able to start debugging from there. Does that make sense?
So when you created the YAML file, you had that you went to edit mode. Is that also at Visual Studio?
Yes.
Okay. If you had questions about it, about what it adjusts the build, can you ask me?
You can ask it. You can. There's an ask mode as well. We can ask it, and it even works in edit mode a little bit. But if you're like, I'm just here to ask you questions, you can go into ask mode and ask it some questions.
It doesn't lose its context.
No. Okay. I need to double check whether that mode is in Visual Studio. There's some modes that are not there quite there, but I'm pretty sure it's there. So maybe I'll double check after the session. So now we have that working. So now let's talk about agent mode, right? So now, hey, I told it to do something and it did it, right? It's a one-shot thing. Go do this for me. It made the change. Do this for me. It made the change. That's what happens in edit mode. Or in ask mode, I'm asking something about my code and it's going to come back, right? Let's start thinking and learning how to work with these agents, right? That are going to help us enhance the work that we do. So VS Code, or more specifically, GitHub Copilot has a mode called agent mode, where you're able to have this like, hey, I need you to go do this. And you'll go through multi-steps. I was like, okay, well, in order to do that, I need to do these 5 things. Well, here's step 1. I'm doing it. Here's step 2. Anytime it's going to make any changes to your system, it's going to ask you, whoa, I can't do this. Are you sure? Yes, go do it. Or it might tell you, well, this is how you do it if you don't want it to do it for you, right? But it allows you to have almost like very much a pair programmer with you that allows you, that kind of helps you get there. So with agent mode, I'm going to switch over to that. So I'm going to click over to agent. And I'm going to say, I want you, sorry, that's not what I need you to do. So I'm going to expand this workflow. So I have my CI YAML open, and it knows that I'm working within my CI YAML. So it's right here. Because I have it open, it's here. If I didn't have it open, I could just drag it over. Let me make this a little bigger for you. So I'm going to expand this workflow to deploy this web app to my Azure web app. Use OpenID Connect. So I'm telling exactly which authentication it should be using when it's deploying to Azure. Only deploy when someone pushes to main. Also, I want you to add a build, publish, and deploy steps. I want you to use this specific secrets. I've already saved these secrets into my GitHub repo with my secrets, which I'm not going to show you, but this is what they're named, right? So when it's acting on this, it's going to go and find those secrets and then replace them with the actual secret, right? And also I want you to use these two variable names to store the name of the web app, which I'll show you where I've already saved as part of my repo. Okay, let's go do that. So I'm going to hit go. And it's telling me exactly what it's going to do. Hey, I'm going to give you some step-by-step of what I'm doing. I'm going to help you. It's reading by CI YAML. Now it's going to tell me, hey, right now I'm doing all this. Right now you'd probably be watching me type furiously, making these changes to YAML, right? So it's a lot more fun for me when I get to have my trusty Copilot help me with this. So it's telling me what it did, right? So it completed the work. But before I go in and start looking at the YAML file, I want to show you what it came back with. Expanded. These are the changes that I made. It's not magic. It's not saying, here you go, I finished it, good luck. So okay, let me explain to you what I did. Well, I changed the name from CI to CI/CD because we're no longer just doing CI. Important. They added the OpenID Connect permissions, and moved the build artifacts, added the deployment job, the deployment steps, set up security, and then it tells me, hey, go do these things. Like it can't do this, but hey, go set up OpenID Connect in Azure. I already did that. Configure the secrets. I already did that before this, and I also configure the variables. And also says, hey, do you want dev deployments from develop branch? Because remember, my instruction was only to deploy from main, deploy to production. Yeah, possibly. Let's take a look at the workflow first, and then I can answer that question for it. Again, the name's up here. Change the name. Yeah, it executes on these two branches. It's going to run the build. Nothing's changed here. But then it added this new deploy step. There's a deploy on push on main. So whenever a push happens on main, it's going to run this step. Only then. It's going to run to production, and these are the steps that's going to follow. It's like, wow, okay, this is good. I like it. But do I really want to just go straight to production every time? Probably not. I'm sure someone's not going to be very happy if I start doing that. Let's go ahead and commit these changes just locally, just because we're in a good place with our YAML file. But let's interact with our Copilot again and say, you know what? Yes, let's add a dev deployment from the develop branch. So it's gonna say, okay, cool. I get what you're saying, so I'm gonna go ahead and add that for you. And it's gonna use the Azure Web App name dev. I have already given it that variable. That's working through my YAML file. It's showing me exactly what I changed. So now it's saying, okay, well, we're gonna run this for both dev and main. If we added a new deploy dev step, that's gonna go do these things for development, and then added a develop prod, right? So it just made some changes for me, and I'm gonna review it. Of course, I'm gonna spend quite a bit of time making sure this is what I wanted to do. I don't have the hour, I just have the 30 seconds. So let's assume that this is the correct thing. So it told me what it did. So now we have a full CI. Yeah, let's keep these changes, fully trusting. Let's go ahead and commit. Still in develop here. I'm gonna publish these changes. All right, so now if I go to my actions, we should be seeing something. This is running. And you see that this changed now, right? I have a build and test job that's running. And then it knows that when it's done, it's going to go and do these two things, deploy to dev and deploy to prod. Now, while this is running, I'm going to show you some of the magic, right? If I go to settings and I go to secrets and variables for my actions, this is where I have you won't be able to see the secrets itself, but I saved these secrets as things that my actions can get access to. And there's the actual secrets behind the scenes there. And I also saved the variables. You can actually see the variables here. Here's the variable name. This is the actual variable that I'm using. That way, if I decide I want to deploy it to another URL, I can just update it here, right? There's nothing secret about the URL. I'll show you that in a second. All right, so let's go back to the action itself. It's running. You can see that it's going in develop. It finished the build and test. nothing to show there, but I'm gonna go show you the deployment because that's running right now. It is logging into to Azure right now, using OpenID Connect. Hopefully everything, yeah, looks like it's doing it. And now it's deploying my Azure web app. And then it's going to complete the thing, right? So now every single time I deploy, or every time I push code into my develop branch from wherever it's coming from, it's going to deploy my code out to my dev website. And since I only deployed to dev, to the develop branch, I'm sorry, I only pushed to the develop branch, you can say the deploy to production is not gonna run. It's like, yeah, you're not in main branch. I'm not gonna run to production. And there's actually going to be an approval step on the production side. I'll show you guys in a second. So now that it did that, I can go to my web app for dev, and my website is live in Azure. Live 360-go fast with GitHub-dev at AzureWebsites.net. Same site, everything that was running on my machine, now it's running up there, even including the really ugly contact page that we're gonna fix in a minute, right? So it's all there. So now I can start pushing my code with confidence up to GitHub, and then all of you that are part of my team, as you're making changes, you push your code, and then that code makes it into a develop branch, and then someone else can go and review it. The customer, our testers, our automated steps can go through and check for those. So now we are CI/CD, right? We are doing continuous integration, we're doing continuous delivery. We're gonna continue pushing code out to develop, we're gonna continue doing some amazing things there. So we're at CI/CD at 34 minutes, so that's pretty good, right? A lot of times, YAML and continuous integration can seem scary. Even with me talking, we got there pretty quickly, half an hour, 34 minutes. I was hoping 30, but we're at 34. Any questions so far with what I've done? All right, feel free to stop me with anything else. The other thing I can do with agent mode is I can ask the agent to help me make my CI even better, right? Right now, I just created a very, very standard build. But what if I say, you know what, this looks good, but it's taking too long. There are some things about it that I'm not loving. I can go and say, analyze this repository and create a complete CI/CD pipeline using GitHub Actions, include build for, so it should be 9. But one thing I added here is I want to make sure that it's using some reusable code patterns, right? The way that I did it is like it's a YAML file that's going to be used by my repo, but if someone else needs to do it, now they have to do it all over again. They have to go and create something from scratch, but I want to make sure that my team can reuse all the amazing things that I've done here. So I'm going to use the power of Copilot and GitHub to help me analyze this YAML that I have here, and it's going to say, well, let's figure out all the things that we can be doing within our within this workflow to make it more reusable and make it so that it's just a much more robust, right? Something you might get to eventually. My friend Marcel, who just walked in, he's going to go a lot deeper into a lot of these things on the next talk after this. So he just made, now it's going to start making a bunch of changes, right? Before we were just working with a single CI YAML file. Now it's going to start breaking it up into multiple steps. I just saw that I created my .NET build YAML. It's going to create a bunch of different YAML files and it's going to bring them together. What that does is that you're going to be able to start creating these reusable components that can then be extracted out into other repos, right? Again, so that you don't have this one thing that just keeps copied over and over and over and over. That's no fun, especially when you have to go make changes. So this is where I mentioned that this Copilot agent can do multiple steps. It's doing a lot of things. It's going to be making quite a few changes as it goes through, and it pulled out the Azure deployment. So all the different pieces that are made up of this one script are getting pulled out and made a lot more reusable. I'm going to let it run for a little bit because it's going to take a little while. But I just wanted to show you like one extra thing that you can be doing using this Copilot for DevOps, essentially, to be able to make your life easier as a YAML developer, right? Sometimes we, like I mentioned earlier, we think about Copilot as this thing that helps a traditional software developer, write more code, more .NET, more Razor, more Blazor. Okay, well, what about this world where we have to start creating YAML files and creating deployments? There's ways for us to make this job a lot easier, better. Like I mentioned earlier, I understand YAML really well, but I don't want to spend my whole day writing a YAML file by hand. It's not a lot of fun. It can be a tedious work. So here goes. It's just going. It's going, and it's creating a bunch of different things here, making sure that we're ending up with something that's reusable.
Quick question for you.
Yes.
When do you look at your YAML and what's happening and say, okay, it's good enough? Because you could Copilot this to death. Right?
Yeah. So the question is, when do I look at the YAML file and decide, okay, it's good enough? Because what's your name? Jerry. So Jerry's point, you can compile this thing to death and spend all day long just kind of iterating, like make it better, make it better, make it better. So YAML shouldn't be a super complex thing. Make it simple enough to complete your work, right? If it does the things that you need it to be able to get your work done, it's good enough, right? When it needs to be complex is when you're dealing with very complex systems. And even then, I would say start breaking it up, make it simple, right? So my choice is not to spend a whole day iterating back and forth with Copilot. And the question is, what am I trying to get done? I'm trying to deploy to these 5 different environments. I'm trying to build this code. I'm trying to test this code. Good enough. That's it. Now, I can make it like, well, every time this happens, send out a alert, do this. But YAML shouldn't be a super, I don't know. I guess when it feels like, okay, it's just right. I don't know. It's a bit of a feeling, but did I complete the thing that I'm trying to do? I don't want to make it more complex than it needs to be.
There was a time when we wanted to learn to do something, we'd find a book. We'd pay $100 or $50 for a big book. It seems that Copilot's taken that out, the necessity of that out. Was that correct? That Copilot's going to be a more dependable resource than a hard copy book?
That's a good question. So back in the day, we used to read books. Remember those days? Is something like Copilot replacing books? I don't think so. I don't think completely, no. I think that in order to be able to be a very effective with these tools, you have to understand what's happening behind the scenes, right? Copilot is not going to be able to give me the basics of, well, it might give me some basics on CI/CD, and it might not be able to give me the basics of like, well, should I be doing testing or not? Like, I was very specific on what I wanted Copilot to do. I want you to build this. I want you to cache my packages. I want you to run my test cases. If I don't tell it that, it's not going to do that, right? So I think that whether you get this information through books, through Pluralsight, through Microsoft Docs, you have to have that baseline knowledge, understanding of what it is that you're trying to do. And then you leverage that to make Copilot your AI assistant, an extension of you, rather than just saying, I don't know, my boss told me to do a YAML. Here, Copilot, do a YAML for me, and just kind of walk away. You're going to end up with something that's really messy. That's not the right thing. So like you have to, Copilot is helping me, and I'm learning from it plenty, but also my foundational knowledge, it has to be there. So maybe for some things, but I think you still need the foundational knowledge.
That's what I like about Copilot, is that you need a source. And you'll take a book or
Yeah, good point. Yeah, Copilot will point you to the sources where it's getting its information. So you have to ask for sure. All right, so now we got to a point. If you remember where we were a second ago, we started with a single YAML file, and I said, hey, go make this more complex. And it did. The cool thing also, it gave me a README file that explains what it did for me, so that later on, someone can actually understand what we're doing with our new pipeline. So it gave me this documentation, really nice documentation. I could have asked it to. It actually just, I think I've gone through so many demos with it that it like knows that I'm gonna go there, right? Because it did things. And then when I hand it to Jerry later, and he's gonna be like, I don't know what you did, Esteban. There was one file, now you gave me 3. I don't know what to do. It's like, well, go read the documents. The documentation tells you exactly what this thing is doing, exactly how it's working. So now we can continue going fast, right? Because what we don't want to end up with a bunch of files that today made my job faster, but a month from now, when I come back to it, I'll be like, oh my gosh, what is this? I don't know where to start. Well, let's start with the documentation. This documentation explains exactly what's happening within our code, within our build, and how to interact with it. So it's a great way to do it. Again, showing you how some of these agentic tools are making our job better, funner, easier, right? And it gives me time to start adding to it. I probably would not have gotten to this documentation with all the pile of work that I have to do. Now I have a fully documented CI/CD pipeline here. So let me get my code committed here just locally. I'm not going to push this up to the server because I don't know what's going to happen with that. Last time this broke, so let's just leave it there for now. I'm going to move on to talking about model context protocol. So for those of you that have been already working with agents, MCP is the way to stitch together multiple agentic servers, if you will. GitHub has an MCP, Azure DevOps has an MCP, Figma has an MCP, Playwright has an MCP. There's all these different ways to interact with all these different agents. So it's really a protocol that says, okay, this is how you talk to each other, right? It improves, it supercharges my AI to be able to understand other systems that it wasn't meant to understand. In my case, I added a MCP connection to GitHub so that within my code, I can start interacting with issues and PRs. Why? Because as someone that's building and deploying code, once in a while, the build is going to break. Once in a while, I'm trying to solve something that maybe someone in production submitted a ticket about, like, hey, when I get to this page, I'm getting an error, and it made it back into my backlog. So I went ahead and added a connection to MCP. The way you do it is under GitHub. There's an mcp.json file, kind of cheating a little bit, just a shortcut. There's two things you have to do. First, you have to go into your extensions. Then you have to go and if you do it at MCP, you can see all the different MCPs that are available for you. The GitHub one is already installed. So once I do that, the next thing I have to do is I need to create a new mcp.json file under my VS Code folder. And then within that file, I put this JSON that describes where I'm connecting to. Once I'm there, I'm going to hit start. And once it's running, essentially, my Copilot is going to be able to talk to GitHub. That's what I did here, right? I'm going to start a new chat just to make it easier. I'm going to continue on agent mode. And I'm going to say, show me the details of issue number 1 and any workflows related to it. Just so you see there's no magic. I'm going to show you the issues that I have in GitHub. You can also do this with Azure DevOps, by the way. You are able to connect to the Azure DevOps MCP and say, show me what work item 1, 2, 3, 4 looks like, and it's able to connect to it as well. So I created this issue that says, hey, there's a broken build. Go fix it, right? So that came to me. So okay, well let's have a look. Show me the details on issue number 1. And it's running, it's telling me exactly what it's doing using the GitHub MCP server. And it's figuring it out, right? There's an issue that says there's something wrong with it. It's going to tell me, hey, I think this is what the problem is based on what I see on the issue. Remember, because I have context, I'm not just looking at the YAML file. I'm looking at YAML. I'm looking at my code. It's going to say, well, based on what I see, this is what I think is broken with it. So let's go fix it, right? So now, again, trying to show you how to leverage these tools to make your ability to go fast to Azure a lot smoother. So here I found what the issue is. It's a very detailed pull request number 9 about the workflow optimization that's related to this. It's getting detailed about pull requests, so maybe someone's already fixing it. And then it's going to add the commits. It's going to make this better to publish and just kind of help me fix it, right? So I'm leveraging my ability to look into the system and my Copilot capabilities to be able to work with this, right? I would have been able to find this information going through a bunch of different systems, but I'm in the flow. I'm working right here, and then it tells me what to do with it. So now it gave me information on that. Now that I have that, I can go and say, well, that's great. So recommend some changes for me. Okay, based on that, you gave me the information. What can I do to make it better? So now it's going to analyze the issue and it's going to show me how to fix it. So again, ways to speed up that process so we can get to resolution and get to Azure a lot faster. Just a very quick, I didn't want to make this a whole MCP session, but I want to show you this because I think in the workflow of building a CI/CD pipeline, this can be a very powerful tool, especially if you're able to analyze issues, analyze builds, analyze your code, and kind of bring it all together to understand how to get to the cloud faster. We'll wait for it to run and show me the changes that's proposing that we make. And while we do that, do you guys have any questions on this? Yes.
I don't think you're talking about the MCP server over here. So is it our own MCP server or it's a GitHub MCP?
It's a GitHub MCP server available as a VS Code extension.
Perfect. And I know that this is not the MCP session, but yesterday when I was with Mr. Fabian Williams, MCP, whenever you're giving any new prompt, the chances of you getting the exact is very great because it's keep on changing.
Yeah.
Exactly, is going to help us out.
Well, this one, in this case with MCP, I'm saying, get me information about issue number 1. Not much can change there, right? It's really that. If I were to say, hey, go find me the most important issue out there, today's answer is going to be different than tomorrow. But I'm saying, I know there's an issue, and there's an issue number 1 that has this, explain it to me. So that's why it becomes less probable, it's more deterministic in this way. Yes?
I'm just wondering, so I use AI in my day-to-day processes or in development. I'm just wondering what percentage of your time do you see yourself letting AI write code versus yourself?
Good question. So what percentage of the time am I letting AI code for me instead of myself? So far, what I'm showing you are things that I'm asking AI to do on my behalf, right? So there's a fine line there where I'm actually, I'm directing it. I don't like the fire and forget type stuff where it just does things for me. I don't know what it does, right? So I'm coding. I'm working with the tool to do it for me. I would say probably 50% of the code that I'm writing is with an aid of AI, and the other 50% are things that I feel like I have a better command of it. So a lot of times are either repetitive tasks or things that I'm like, yes, I know I could scaffold this myself, but why? So I'm just gonna ask it to do it. Now, hey, there's a requirement that says, let's implement these specific things. I'm gonna go implement it myself. I might have some autocomplete type stuff, but yeah. It's getting more and more though. A year ago it was probably 25, so. Okay, so now it's proposed the changes that it should make to be able to fix this problem that was shown on issue number 1, and that's how we're gonna fix it. The idea would be that I'm gonna push this, I'm gonna make the changes, and I'm gonna move on. Let's move on from MCP because I do wanna show you things going into production eventually. So let's talk about custom agents. So there's this thing that got announced over the summer, got shown at GitHub Universe 3 weeks ago, the concept of custom agents. So GitHub has something called an agent, a GitHub agent that runs on Azure, on github.com, right? And this is a bit of the fire and forget thing where you say, well, I have this issue. I'm gonna assign this issue to an agent. And the agent is gonna go off and do its thing. And when it's done, it's gonna generate a pull request, and I'm gonna go review the pull request. So now we're getting into the other side, very agentic, where we as DevOps people, developer people, whatever your role is, if we look ahead at 2 years from now, a year and a half from now, our role may change quite drastically where we are orchestrating things. And this is now, we're starting to go down this path. So I'm gonna show you that. I'm gonna show you how to create an agent within the framework of GitHub Copilot to be able to do this type of thing, right? I'm not creating an agent that can go and build a web app. It's gonna be an agent that's gonna help me build CI/CD pipelines. Because again, the future's agentic. I'm sure of this. I have t-shirts for you if you want them after. And also, these tools are just moving so fast, and they're giving us the ability to just go so much faster. I want you to be able to see them and to control them, right? I want you to make sure that you are able to work with them. So let me show you what this looks like and what am I talking about. So if you go to GitHub, there's a little chat with Copilot button at the very top, right? I want to go click on it. When I click on that, there's just sections here, new chat, agents, spaces. If I go to agents, I can go and say, hey, I want to describe a coding task to work on. When I do that, I can click on select a custom agent, right? So I can just say, hey, go do something, and the regular GitHub Copilot agent is gonna go and take it. I can define my own agent. That just kind of, it doesn't change that agent, it just kind of gives a very specific purpose, right? Instead of being just a regular software developer, it can be an agent that really understands C++ and really understands how to deploy to this and blah, 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 right? So here I created an agent called Action Specialist. Well, what is an Action Specialist? Let me show you what that looks like. And under, whenever I save that, there's a markdown file that describes this new agent that we're talking about here. So an agent called Agent Specialist. Here's my description. It's a GitHub Actions workflow specialist. That's what this agent does. If I give it a C# coding task, it might stumble through it, but it really knows how to work with YAML files. It's focused on CI/CD pipeline optimization and best practices. And here's the prompt. Now, where this comes in handy is that for those of you that have been working with Copilot, you probably by now know that prompt engineering is very, very important. Me telling it what it needs to do and what it needs to know gives it the context of how it should do the next thing. So these are things that I would typically repeat over and over and over. Yeah, for this thing, you're this. Okay, now follow these instructions. So I'm essentially telling it, hey, you're a GitHub Actions Specialist with deep expertise in workflow automation, CI/CD pipelines, DevOps best practices. These are your responsibilities. Which means that every single time this agent is given a task, it will follow these responsibilities. Which also means I don't have to keep reminding it, hey, remember these. Now it gets a little bit more deterministic about what the type of work it's going to be doing. Not exactly. The output's going to be a little different every time, but at the very least, I know that every single time is going to include these type of things, right? So that can be pretty powerful, I think. So now that I've done that, and this is just part of my repo, and it's available on GitHub. So if you guys go to that repo that I pointed to earlier, you can see it. So I'm going to say, great, let's do this thing. Analyze your the current GitHub Actions workflows and optimize them for a .NET application. Focus on performance through improvements of caching, security hardening, all these different things, right? This is going to take quite a while. So I'm going to kick it off, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like at the end. Otherwise, we'll be here watching it go for like 10 minutes because it's going to do a lot of things. So it's going to go and create this one task that I'm giving it. Very much fire and forget type stuff. It's going. I can go take a look at it. And it's work in progress. It's going to start working through it. This is my prompt. It's going to tell me all the things. It's spin up a new environment. It's going to go do the things. Let me just show you how. Yeah. So this completed last night, last night when I was testing, when I was preparing for this. So I gave it the prompt. Then it went through and created an environment and started going through analyzing it. It made a lot of different changes, and it created a new pull request. Like the end result is like, hey, I've done what you asked me to do. Like here's the pull request. Go and review it before we take it in. It made 17 file changes. It showed me this. It created these reusable workflows. It made a change to my CI/CD pipeline. It added some quality automation. Some maintenance and monitoring, some security hardening, performance optimization, observability, documentation, right? So now I can spend a little bit more time reviewing this, testing it, than writing it, right? I gave it very specific instructions of what type of agent it was and what it should be doing, and then say, hey, go do this, and assign it to that agent. If I were to assign that to just a regular Copilot agent, it wouldn't have come up with all these things because it didn't know that I had to. It would have been okay. It would have been some things. But now this one agent, this custom agent that I defined, it's able to do so much more. So imagine if you have a custom agent that really understands how to do X unit and how to export the results in a very specific format. So you define all that. Now, every single time anyone in the team needs to do something, just assign it to the one agent. And you start fine-tuning that agent to do work for you on your behalf. Now, it committed to a new branch that it created. It's not going to commit to the regular main branch or develop branch. It's going to put a pull request out there. And it's going to be up to me as a reviewer of that code to accept it and say, you know what, no, this was not good. If I don't like what it did, I can interact with it and say, hey, go, this one file doesn't make sense, go keep going on that, or you kind of went wrong on this. So I can guide it on some of these things, right? So this now, again, it's not about me not doing my job, it's about me kind of shifting where my job is. I'm still the expert at YAML, I'm still the expert on deployments. I'm having the agent do some things for me. I'm coming back, I'm saying, okay, well, this was okay, no, this wasn't. Imagine it's just your teammate. You had your teammate go build something for you. You come back and you start doing a code review on the things that it did, and you're able to kind of go back and forth. Or I could just pull down this new branch, it's just a branch, and I can start making changes myself to continue evolving it, right? But it got me pretty far along. So any questions with this? I know I went pretty quickly through what this is. The way you get to it, you go to the chat with Copilot section. You can create your own your custom agent from that prompt, or you can go under code under GitHub, create an agents folder and start creating other agents. And there's pretty good documentation on this on the GitHub website. It's pretty straightforward in terms of what you need to include. It is. It's the description, it is what it does, and then that's pretty much it. Your name, description, the tools that it needs to have, and then a whole prompt of what it needs to be doing when it kicks off.
Are there any sources you're familiar with that would have templates for, I want a C# developer agent, I want
I'll Yeah, so the question is, are there any good templates or any sources out there? So GitHub docs are really good. There's a GitHub repo. I think it's called like Awesome Copilot. I think it is. If you Google for that, it has all these recipes for different prompts that you're able to use with Copilot.
I think more like creating the agent itself.
So the agent's pretty new, so I think there's not a ton of, but if you go to the GitHub docs website, it has like samples of like 3 or 4 different ones. And then you can use that as your template. You can create your own. And this is in my repo, so you feel free to go and look at it and copy it. I built this one a couple days ago or like a week ago, like the way it was. So I've been iterating it.
The last line, there's avoid modifying application code.
Yeah, I don't want it to touch my code. I just want it to touch YAML. That's it. You're a YAML guy.
The word avoid suggests that avoid it, but if you have to, like, is that avoid a strong enough word there to keep it from modifying source code?
So far it's worked. I mean, I could tell it absolutely do not. Like I could do it, but like avoid has been good enough. But yeah, I want this agent to only care about YAML and any supporting files. I don't want it to do anything else. So that's why I put it there. I don't think I needed it, but I just want to be sure about that. I started with a website running on my laptop, and this website looked like this, especially the contact us page. It's not very pretty. And what I want to do is I want to make that a little nicer. I want to make my contact us page look a little better. So I'm going to go here to agent because, the future is agentic, so I'm using it as much as possible. So I'm going to give it a prompt. I'm going to say, hey, improve the look and feel of the contact page to match the rest of the application, include my email address. Let's actually put my actual email address here. And and a link to my LinkedIn profile, which is just Esteban Garcia. And I'm going to say, go. So it's going to go and look through my code, make sure that it's able to, it understands what I mean by it. It found my contact page. This is the only time we're going to be making any changes to my application in this talk. So I wanted to make sure that it understands the look and feel of the REST application. So it did that. So it parse through them. It's like, hey, now I know what the design looks like in this application. Let's go and make my changes to contact. It's gonna make the changes, and we'll take a look at them here. The idea is I'm gonna test them locally. I'm gonna push in to GitHub. Actions is gonna pick it up. It's gonna deploy to dev. It's gonna deploy to production, and ideally everything looks exactly the same once we're done with it. So made some changes to contact CSHTML. Completed. It told me what it did. So let's go run it locally just to make sure that we are all good. Just doing a .NET run. Running. Now my contact page looks a lot nicer than it did before. Just to remind you, this is what my contact page looked like before. This is my contact page looks like now here locally. I'm going to push those changes up to, I'm just going to go directly to master branch or main branch because we don't have a ton of time left. And yes, commit anyway. And then if I go over to my GitHub repo, there should be a action running. Oh, this is the Copilot one. There we go. Oh, sorry, I didn't sync my changes. Okay, so here. So then my action should be running now. Should be. Oh, I removed my CI from here. No. See if we can get our actions, our code moved real quick here. Okay, now that I merged, it should run. Hopefully, I'm not gonna end on a fail here. Been doing so well. Yeah, here it goes. So now it's building the code. It should be deploying out to my develop branch, and then put to my develop site and to my prod site as soon as it completes. And then everything that I just did here locally will end up in Azure when it completes with this. So while we watch this run, we have 8 minutes left. If you have any questions or anything that you want that is not clear, go ahead.
So I know like you did say that you're going to talk about approval flow.
Sorry?
Approval flow.
Yeah, so approval flow, perfect. Segue for this. So this is going to production. I put in that it has to be approved. So there's a review deployment right here because it knows I'm going to production. I'm gonna say yes. I approve the deployment to production. I'm in main going to production. Yes, I'm gonna approve and deploy. And only once it does that, once I approve it, I got a notification on my phone. I got an email. All those things telling me, hey, we're waiting for your approval. Then the approval happened, and that was part of the YAML file. You can look at the YAML file on the repo itself. Now it's published into production, and then we should see the changes in Azure in a second. I think dev might already be done. Let's take a look at it. No, it's not. It's not out there yet. Other questions while we watch this run? Yes.
For the custom agents, you showed that you can make agents folder projects. Does that mean each project has to have its own created for it for custom agents?
Yeah, the question is for the custom agents. I show that the custom agent sits within the repo itself. Yes, today the agents are context aware to the repo. Just like other things within GitHub, where you can put things at the root of GitHub, I would imagine that that's going there. It might be able to do it. I haven't tried it, but today that on the context you have to tell which repo you're pointing to. But I haven't tried it, so I might be wrong on that. So now we are in production. Let's take a look at our production site to make sure it, sorry, wrong link. And contact, and my contact page, the new one that I just made changes here locally, made it out to my Azure site my Azure site in Azure. So you can see it there. So I just went from, I made my code change locally and pushed it up to GitHub. The action picked it up, deployed it to dev, asked me for an approval to deploy it to production. I made the change, and my change made it out to production. So in the past 75 minutes or 70 minutes so far, we've gone from just having code sitting on my laptop, running on my laptop, not being able to interact with others in my team so we can make sure that the build was working. We created a very basic YAML file so we could do CI, and we added CD, the continuous delivery piece, into develop and into production. We're using OpenID Connect to be able to deploy to Azure. We're using GitHub secrets and variables to tell it where to go. And then showed you how to interact with your teammates, how to do pull requests, how to move the code between the different branches. And every single time the branch matched the trigger that we set up in our YAML, the action would kick off, and then our code made it up into production in 2 different sites, right? So whenever someone tells you, yeah, we don't do CI/CD here because that's just too difficult, we don't have time, look at our backlog, there's just not enough time. In 1 hour, even with all my talking about all these different things, we have CI/CD. I get it, it's a simple website, right? But if I give you a week, I'm sure you can automate your entire system. So don't let time or like, oh, well, that's too difficult, get in the way of you being able to do these things that really give you the ability to show that your system is healthy, show that everyone can deploy, not from their machine, but from something that's repeatable, and then allow your team to really go fast. The idea here is how do we go fast as possible from your code running on your laptop to that code running into Azure, and GitHub Actions is one of the ways that you can do that. Thank you so much for everyone being here at my talk. My name is Esteban Garcia. Here's all my contact information. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. The repo that I've been showing you is going to have all the code, all the YAML, and the slides will be on the Live 360 website. So thanks again for coming.